this time, I'd like to call to order the Tewksbury Finance Committee public hearing for April 26, 2021. This is the meeting we have for anyone from the general public to call in and ask any questions they might have regarding the warrant articles for the annual and special town meetings that will be held next week. The Finance Committee has already reviewed the warrant articles with the town manager, so we may or may not have any questions for the town manager at this time. Tonight is more for anyone from the public, from the Tewksbury community, to ask any questions they may have. So if you have any questions, please call the number on, hopefully it's on the screen, 781-565-8134. And when I start sharing my screen, I'll have that number up there as well. Okay, so setting the ground rules, this is how this will work. We'll address each warrant article individually. I will check with the phone operator to see if there's anyone from the public that would like to speak on the article. Anyone from the public that wants to speak will have to state their name and address for the record. After that, I will open it up to the committee for questions. After discussion is completed, the Finance Committee will vote on our recommendations as to how to proceed on this article. Like I said, I'll share the warrant on the screen, but I know sometimes, watching on YouTube or the TV, it can be difficult to read, so I would encourage everybody to grab their warrant article that hopefully they've received in the mail. Okay, at this point, I would like, I'll look for a motion to waive the reading of the warrant articles.
So moved.
Dave with a motion.
Second.
Rich with a second. We'll have to do a roll call vote. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom? Mr. Cook, I saw Ollie. I read lips. I didn't hear you though.
Aye.
Okay. Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Okay. Also, I'd like to take, because there's some people here for certain articles, so I would like to take them out of order. I'd like to take Article 28, 34, and 35 first before the rest of the articles. I would look for a motion to do that.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by
Second.
Dave. Second by, catch that. Tom?
Tom.
Okay. Second by Tom. Roll call vote. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
And chair votes aye as well. Okay, let me share my screen. Phone number there. There we go. Can everybody see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, Article
Yes.
28, and we have Ms. Impink to represent Article 28. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to present Article 28, which is a very straightforward proposal. And I'm not going to read it because we've waived the readings, but essentially the goal is to encourage resident participation in our town government by removing barriers to service and creating opportunity for a consistent flow of ideas benefiting our residents. It seemed logical at a time when we are reviewing the zoning bylaw, creating a more concise, navigable, and user-friendly document for residents and developers alike, to also take a look at updating the term of the board. Once we researched this, it became clear that not only do planning boards come in all shapes and sizes, elected and appointed, but they are allowed by Mass General Law to be 3 or 5 years. We reached out to several towns and spoke to planners and board members and did quite a bit of research, and in no instance was it suggested that term was an issue. The article is beneficial for residents because it creates parity across our elected structure, and opportunity for residents to serve in a capacity that impacts the long-term vision of our community. And I would just like to also make it clear that while my name appears on the article, I was told when it was submitted as a citizen's petition that only one name can appear, but there are others that are involved and interested in this as well. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you. I see Mr. Johnson was able to attend before his planning board meeting, so appreciate that. And I know you had some comments you wanted to share, I think.
Yes, thank you. I think the committee members received a letter from me that I submitted last week. Try to be shorter than that this time. Everybody had a chance to take a look at that. So I'm not sure if I haven't attended one of these this way, so I guess my name's Steve Johnson, 21st Street. I am currently on the planning board, and I am currently the planning board's chairman. So everybody understands my perspective, I guess. For me, I guess, first off, and I think as I pointed out in the letter, that I think it's important that we realize what we are or are not talking about here. I disagree that we're talking about participation or access. And the reason that is because to question participation or access goes to either the elections and how they're held, or that someone's unable to get on the ballot, which I think the town clerk would take issue with, or how the planning board operates in following the open meeting law, and that we're not providing people the opportunity to speak and have their voices heard during the meetings, which I would vehemently deny is the case. So if it can't be that we're talking about participation or access, then we have to be talking about competition. And if we're talking about competition in this case, there's really only two things going on here. Either you're looking to have the planning board seats run more often, which if you make this 3 years instead of 5, that happens. That's true. Whether that's a good idea, I'll get to in a minute. Second is the idea that the reason people aren't running in greater numbers for the planning board are because of the length of the term. I definitely do not think that's the case. I think there's a vast list of things that are probably much more likely the reason why people aren't running. And for those, I would think, one, the subject matter that the planning board deals with. It's very specific, very dense, very difficult. It's not sexy in any way. Having done this for close to 15 years, I will attest to that. It's just not. So that's one thing. Also, the workload, and that workload comes in the form of the planning board holds between 20 and 22 meetings per session. The meetings can go upwards of 4 hours, and the packets we get for those meetings are sometimes vast, and the amount of information you have to go over to be prepared for those meetings is pretty substantial. I think those things, I also think, and I think this goes to maybe just how the planning board's viewed. One, the compensation that the board gets in comparison to the other boards would seem disproportionate when you look at what the board does. I've used the example when I discussed it that, and this isn't a shot at any other board, it's just in comparison, the school committee holds 15 meetings a year. We hold 20 to 22. The planning board member gets a third of what a school committee member gets. Nobody's looking to get, rich off, being on any of the boards or committees in town. I get that, but in terms of the things that may cause people to be less interested in running, I think it has to be included in the likely deterrent to those folks. And then just sort of the general way that the planning board is viewed in the town, I think, somewhat negatively for what we do and what we're supposed to do. I think those factors are far more important than the length of the term for the seat. And I think evidence for that is the fact that over the last few years, there have been terms or expiring terms that have come up for election, as little as a year or a 2-year to finish out someone's term who had left early. You did not get the kind of turnout that I'm assuming that this article is looking for, even when someone had the opportunity to run for as little as a year or 2 years to figure out whether they'd like being on the planning board or not. They weren't even being asked to be there for 5 years or to make that kind of a commitment. And you did not get that kind of turnout. You don't get that kind of, you get more of a turnout when there are incumbents running for the school committee or the selectmen seats even when they have people who were on the boards already running again. These were open seats, and you just don't get that kind of turnout. And I think those factors I've just listed are far more likely to be the reason for that than the term. The other thing too is, I think, the comment made at the beginning was, well, it just makes it's simple. It just makes everything the same. Well, I mean, I would question whether or not you're making an apples to apples comparison here. And even if you are making an apples to apples comparison, I think you might be doing Macintosh versus Granny Smith, because if you go around to all the other, I'm sure there are many different ways that different towns set up their planning boards, but there's a little more to it than that, is determining whether or not it's the same, because you don't know how many members are on those boards. You don't know what is the actual workload that type of town has to deal with in terms of what a planning board does. Also, you don't know for sure who is the permit granting authority most of the time in some of those towns. An example I'll give you is that here in Tewksbury, we have a billboard zoning bylaw that likely go in as part of the new bylaw. Well, because it made more sense, instead of the planning board being the permit granting authority on that, which would normally be the case, because with the billboards, the selectmen also have to come to an arrangement with the owner of the billboard, it made more sense to have the selectmen be the permit granting authority. In some places, the permit granting authority isn't the planning board. So I can't tell you, I didn't do that research to tell you every city and town's breakdown of how their planning boards work. But there's more to it than just simply how, do they serve 3 years? Do they serve 5? If you want to make a fair comparison between why we may do it one way and they do it different. Also, I don't think it's in the best interest of the town to have this setup that would be created by this, because you'd have a system where you'd have elections now running on a 1-1-1-2-2 cycle. The planning board, unlike the other boards, works on a much different schedule. And again, nothing against the other boards, it's just how they work, but the school committee or the town, the selectmen, budgets come when budgets come. They discuss the budgets every year at the same time. We get hearings presented to us as they come in. Those hearings can run weeks and months before they reach a final determination. If you have this cycle, you run the risk of having multiple members coming onto the board, having not heard anything that's been going on something for months. And then most of our votes also require that we vote 4/5, supermajority. Well, those members have not sat on enough hearings to be allowed to vote under normal circumstances. So the only way to continue forward is to use the rule of necessity and force those new members to vote on something they haven't heard a word of over the course of months. No evidence, no testimony, no questions, no comments. They walk in the door and they have to now participate. So the question is, do they vote on something they don't really know anything about? Is that beneficial to the town or how the board operates? Or do you rehash months worth of information in order to get them up to speed to vote on something that they haven't heard? And is that fair to a petitioner, the board, or the town in its best interest of having solid and, thought out decisions made? I don't think either of those makes any sense. On the current cycle, you remove potentially 1 member per year over the 5-year cycle. So the other 4 members, even if they're required to vote on something, could vote 4 out of 4, and the matter could be approved, denied, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But the fact of the matter is the continuity is maintained for the board because 4 members didn't go anywhere. You may have a new one, may not. It all depends, I suppose. But you're not putting a situation where, in this case, 2 years in a row, you could potentially have 2 members come onto the board and have matters that have been going on for months and they just don't know about them. It's not there's a reason I think that it's set up differently. The planning board operates differently than the other boards because of the cycle of information, the way we get it, and we get petitioners coming into us. It's not the same as the things that other boards handle. So I think there is a valid reason in the town's best interest to have the cycle we have as the way we vote. I think, I think, you guys have seen the letter. I've tried to make my points as quick as I can tonight. I think I've given, quite a bit of information and evidence for the reasons I think that this article is not something that should be put forward now. and on the proponent, not proponent the person, but proponent the idea for this article, really what you have is a vague, I think misplaced hope that just changing the term is going to be the thing that changes how many people may or may not be interested in running for the planning board. And I don't think that's the case. And I think the justification that you have for it is something that wouldn't have worked on your parents when you were a kid, which was basically just saying, well, other people are doing it. Your parents had the answer, which was, well, if they were jumping off a bridge, would you do that too? All I'm asking here is that I think that in this case, to go forward with this like this, it's jumping off a bridge. I would request that the Finance Committee consider asking the proponents to withdraw the article. Let it be looked at. Let the selectmen have it. Let them look at it. If it's still something that people think is a good idea after a little bit of time and research, then fine. That's people's business. That's fine. I just think that this is being put forward with pretty vague reasonings and hopes without a whole lot of, the facts to back it up. If the proponents either can't or won't withdraw it, I would ask that the Finance Committee vote to indefinitely postpone the article. I just don't think in its current state or at this point that it makes sense. And I think to put it forward would be unwise. So if anybody has any questions on the stuff I submitted or anything I said, I'd be happy to answer it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Johnson. I'll open it to the Finance Committee after we open it up to the public. Or if there's anybody else on the web that wants to speak on this. So, Jason Marshall, do we have any callers on this article?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, then I'll open it up to the Finance Committee. Why don't we go around? Rich, do you have any questions? One?
Oh, yes, you know me, I always have questions. Paige, if it's all right if I call you Paige.
Of course.
I have a few questions. I'm very data driven. So, and Steve hit a couple of points that require data. What data have you gathered for this with respect to surrounding towns, with respect to number of boards that have 3 years versus 5 years in the state of Massachusetts? Do you have any of that data?
I have, well, let me just say two things first, and thank you, Rich, for your questions. I guess I'd just like to make it abundantly clear to the board that citizen articles are allowed to be brought forward in our town meeting structure, number one. So bottom line is we can't suppress any of our citizens' opportunity to present information at town meeting for consideration. Number two, Mass General Law does allow for this structure change to exist and has been researched by our town council. So I want to assure everyone this is not something that is a whim or a wish or wishful thinking. Rather, this is something that has been researched. There are probably, I would have to look up the number for you of cities and towns of varying sizes that have 3 versus 5 year boards. Some appointed, some elected, all with one or multiple expiring terms at any given time. I'll also reference Mass General Law that says the structure of planning boards is such that it has to be arranged that the term of at least one member will expire each year. So provisions are there for more than one. And the intent of the article is to create an opportunity for more participation in our government structure. In Massachusetts, there are about 70% planning boards are elected, about 30% are appointed. Elected appears to be the preferred way to go. Of those boards, I'd have to dig through my numbers to give you how many are 3 year versus 5. Of the communities that were contacted for this, in all cases, I will tell you, both from town planner and from planning board chairs, 3 years is what they know. It works. It's no issue for them. And the idea was not met with anything but seems like a plan. So I'd be happy to provide you with the exact number, Rich, but this is some of the information I could give you kind of just off the cuff.
Okay, I'd certainly be interested in the information. And Steve, I have a question for you.
Sure. Shoot.
Having been watching your meetings, having my wife
sorry.
come in, having come in, what no, having come in and having my wife say, "Is this still on?" And can't you watch it when I'm not here? Because you are right. You some things take a long time, and you're at the mercy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of your things you're at the mercy of other entities like the Department of Transportation, like the that's just one example.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
That's true.
There's a lot of other and
A lot of working parts.
a lot of working parts, and I don't know if those working parts have any limits as to how long they have to take to get back to you.
You would hope, but no, not really. It's not statutory, if that's what you mean.
Okay, so that means that like if someone wants to put up a building on any town road, Tewksbury, Massachusetts, they might have to file with so many different entities that it could tie up the planning board for a great deal of time.
Correct.
And
I mean, in generality, but yes, correct.
And larger projects tend to take larger lengths of time. You say that is correct?
Also correct.
Okay. And of course, then you get projects that involve other committees in town, Conservation Commission, things like that. That is a whole another ballywick, because they are dealing with other entities like the
DEP.
DEP. Yep. And in some cases, all those types of state entities. Okay, that's the only questions I have so far. Thank you.
Okay, just because you asked the other question, if you don't mind, but just so we're clear too, I'm not questioning the legality of the ability to do this.
Oh, no.
I'm questioning the sense of doing it. Saying that, it's all they know. In our case, 5 years is all we know. So I don't think that it doesn't work. So that I just want to make sure that it's not being presented that I'm saying that this can't be put forward. I'm saying it can. I just think it shouldn't be. I think that's a different argument.
Oh, I know. That's the wonderful thing about town meeting is that's why I love it so much. Anybody can put anything up there and say, I want the high school to be painted with 3 different shades of this particular color. Do I have put it before a vote? The town votes up or down. That's what democracy is. That's why I love it.
Okay. Is that Rich?
Yep.
Okay. Susan, do you have any questions?
No.
Tom Cook. You're on mute. Oh, I can't hear you.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
I have no questions at this time, other than I'd like to thank the proponents, plural proponents, and Mrs. Page, rather, coming forward. I have read in detail Steve Johnson's letter, and I just want to say, I've lived in this community for 48 years, Mr. Chairman. I've observed the planning board. I've observed a lot of their meetings and hearings, and most recent one was the elementary school building committee. But I also sat on the charter committee when we set up the charter in town. And just based on my memory of sitting on those committees with regard to elected officers, we discussed the planning board in the term that they sit in their seat and the number of individuals that will come up for election every year. I honestly believe, Mr. Chairman, that this article is a change in our charter. I know what the attorneys have said through the town manager, because we asked the question, would this be impacted by the charter? I know the work that went into the charter committee a long time ago, and I, as one member of that charter committee, do recognize that the planning is an important development. Steve Johnson has made some good points. Not only has he articulated them tonight, but I also want to say that Page has made a point. I don't think the point has come out with regard to research of what the planning board has approved over the years and how many appeals they have received with regard to their decisions. So therefore, at this point in time, as a citizen, not as a finance committee member, I support tabling this article at town meeting and bringing it back at a point when all of the research is done with regard to the charter committee. Thank you much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Jason, do you have any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, first I want to thank Paige and Steve. This has been very enlightening. Steve, I have one question for you. You said you've been on the planning board for 15 years now?
Yep.
And how many times have you held the 5-year position?
I've just been well, let's see. I've now been elected to 3 times to the 5-year. This most recent one would be, I've just started that. And the way I got onto the board was I ran for an expiring term. That's how I got. So my number's not exactly right, but rather than trying to round it off, it was easier to do it that way.
Roger.
After Mr. Fowler, I am the longest serving person on the board currently.
Bless your heart, and we thank you for your hard work, service, and diligence. The question I do have is, as a military man, 20 years in the military, you use the word continuity, and continuity is very important to me. And
Yes,
continuity is in ensuring that there is no breakdown in communication from the time that we start to the time we finish, that if anyone is to leave, that they can come in, look at the material that's been produced by the body, and can get up to speed in a timely fashion. So do I personally feel that if you have between 3 or 5 years, will continuity be disturbed? If we're doing what we need to do in the correct fashion, and we do document efficiently and effectively, and we do significant back briefs to ensure that people are up to speed, I don't see why there would be any reservations about changing that from a 3 to 5. I mean, we could argue it back and forth. I just want you to know from where I stand that when we put forth continuity, we make sure that our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted.
So did you, was that a question? Did you want me to comment on it?
No, I'm just making
Okay.
a general statement. No questions here, sir. But I just want to put that out there for the public record. So again, Paige and Steve, thank you so very much for your time. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Asamborian?
Mr. Chairman, only one question. I'm not sure who can answer it. Would this be a simple majority vote or a 2/3? Do we know that?
I do not. As
Mr. Chairman, we can check on that, but we think it's a majority vote. But we'll double check, Dave.
Thank you, thank you. My concern is very similar to Mr. Cook, is that this feels like a charter change. And without being convinced of that, I would support Mr. Cook's recommendation about tabling. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yeah, so, Richard, could we get an answer on that before the town meeting?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chairman, I can do that. We did check with town council, and he felt it was just a change as being presented in this article. He didn't feel it was a charter change.
Okay, so I guess do we need to double check that, or?
I can ask one more time and circle back with him, but and I can get something to the committee by the end of the week.
Okay. Yeah, I would also like to thank Paige and Steve for coming tonight, explaining their sides. Paige, so a question for you. The other towns that have the 3-year term, did they feel like there was more participation? Like, is there any way to know that that would be the end result?
Yeah, I think there's no way to know that that's the end result. I think that what they said was that people, when there are multiple seats available, feel more comfortable running for positions, that it's not against any one, that there are open opportunities. So this is a barrier reduction, if you will, to participation. This is nothing. Planning board puts in great time, a lot of work, a lot of detail. This is structure view, right? We all serve. I have served in elected position as well as residents of the community, and we pass through and serve with the structure that there is. And, you know, the perspective is our town is changing. There are many new residents' points of view. And so making this a little bit more accessible to someone who may be interested in serving in the community is really the point of this.
Yeah, have you heard from other residents that they would apply, but they?
Yes.
Okay, if it was 3 and not 5, and there was more than one opening, then just going against a particular person.
Oh, yes, yes, I didn't just, yes, yes. Thank you for asking the question. And there are mechanisms in place to bring members up to speed, regardless of how they may arrive at participation on the board, just to address that.
And also, I neglected to mention that there was also a resident that sent an email that I forwarded to the Finance Committee. I'm not sure if you had time to read it. It was later this afternoon from an Aaron Workman. The address from 15A Durlam Circle. And if we want to add that to our public hearing notes, I could forward that to the.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that part of a motion. I have read that letter that you sent out this afternoon.
Yep.
And I think it should be made part of our record of this public hearing. I so move that.
Okay.
And Rob, do you have the call from Chris Mullins as well?
Let me handle that after we take this motion. Don't mind.
I'll second that motion.
Rich for the second. Okay. Rich to add the letter from Aaron Wortman into the meeting notes. Okay. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
And chair votes aye as well. Okay, so we will do that. Sorry, Paige, what was your comment?
The question was just, was there a resident caller?
Yeah, okay. Mr. Marshall, were there any callers?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a caller on the line.
All right, please put them on.
Caller, go ahead.
Hi, this is Chris Mullins, 758 Global Road. I'm actually calling in support of this article. I had been working with Paige on this and calling various municipalities with different boards and board structures. And one of the ways, or the only way we opened that call was to say, who I was, where I lived, and to say that there was a proposed change on an article to take the planning board seats from 5 years to 3 years, did not in any way say how I felt about it. I was just trying to get a general, the temperature of the room. And everyone seemed, pretty positive about it. I mean, some of them had 3 years already. Some of them had transitioned to 3 years. If there are, if the board is working the way it should be, there are contingencies in place to bring new board members up to speed. One of the things that was pretty striking about the different municipalities was that, it did bring up more inclusion. It did bring up new ideas and generally a fresh perspective. And as we're doing things like the being an inclusion committee or group, it does feel like we should be including, any and all residents whenever we can and trying to up participation. I think that's a positive thing for the town, and I absolutely support this.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Marshall, any other callers?
Not at the moment, Mr. Chairman. I would just give it a minute or two for the stream to catch up, just in case anyone else wants to comment.
Or two. Kind of a while to wait. Now, how far are we really that far behind?
I did have someone try to call, so let me see if I can get them back.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions while we're waiting?
I just have one question that our current structure now, how does it lay out voting wise per year? 1 seat up, 2 seats up? How does I forgot.
It's currently 1 member runs per year over the 5 years. So there's 1 member up every year for the 5-member
Okay.
board.
Okay, thank you.
Any luck, Mr. Marshall?
Rob, Mr. Chairman, I do have another call on the line.
Excellent. Put them through, please.
Caller, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time. My name is Laura Kaplan. I'm a resident of Tewksbury and reside at 11 Lanaka Road. And if I may, I just have a question on Article 28. If the planning board term goes from 5 to 3 years, is that going to affect the permit process at all? For when someone applies for a permit and then if the term changes?
I don't know how that would, but maybe Mr. Johnson would be able to answer that.
So am I back on?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I'm not sure exactly on the question, but I mean, no one would be prevented from filing a permit based on the way the members are elected. So no one will be prevented from filing for a permit. When I made the comment, I'm only saying on the ability to deal with the permits that are ongoing as members are changing out becomes an issue of continuity.
Could I clarify my question because I hear him responding online?
Sure.
My question is, if someone applies for a permit, I'm not saying they will be denied to reapply. I'm saying, will they have to start the process all over again if the term has changed on those originally in the seats at the planning board?
They would not be required to restart the process. No, like their petition would not be kicked out just because members change. No.
There are provisions in place to bring new members up to speed.
I don't know what those are. I've been on the board, but I'm not really clear what those are. You keep referencing them, but I'm not sure exactly what it is other than rehashing everything that's been discussed that brings anybody up to speed. And I do, they mentioned the continuity earlier. I really have to press on the issue. Like the continuity is important because the way that the planning board has to vote and to have members at that level moving that many people out at once potentially is going to have an effect on the ability of the board to process the permits they're dealing with. It's not going to kick somebody's permit out, but someone who has not witnessed weeks and months worth of testimony that's then asked to come in and vote on that issue, one way or the other, that has to, if they're going to have to vote, they're either going to vote blind, or you're going to have to find a way to rehash all that information. There's no process other than representing all that information to them so they can get up to speed. There is no other process. There's no magic wand that makes someone know what went on for weeks and months. So I don't know what these other boards, and I also have to question, you know, the references here have been that you've checked with boards that have 3-year terms. Did you check with any of the boards that have 5? To ask them if they think that works?
Mr. Johnson, sorry.
Yeah, I apologize.
Ms. Kaplan, are you still on the line?
Abby?
Did you get the answer to your question?
No, but I guess I'll just speak to a few others prior to the town meeting, because I really feel it is going to affect the process, because it's not something simple and quick. And I'm not looking for a magic wand. I'm looking for continuity in the committee, and I think 5 years is a sufficient amount of time for an application process. But if you're going to 3 years, and like he was just saying, someone comes in on the board new, they're not going to want to vote blindly. Of course not. They're going to need to hear all the testimony, review everything again in the process for the permit to be either approved or denied. And my question is, was that discussed for this article to be placed in a town warrant to go from 5 years to 3? Because it is a long process. It's not quick, and it shouldn't be for a permit for, say, a subdivision to be built.
Okay.
That's my concern.
Yep. Thank you for raising
And I
it.
don't like the reference being made that I'm looking for a magic wand, because I'm not.
Okay. Did you have any other
I'm an
questions?
interested resident that just had a question, and I'm sorry if this has been rehashed already. But prior to the meeting, I figured I would tune into the Finance Committee's meeting and get your input on this article.
Okay. Do you have any other questions or concerns?
My concern is, why was it discussed to have this changed from 5 years to 3, knowing the process for permits takes a great length of time, more than 3 years in most cases, I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, my understanding is it was to sort of come in line with the other elected committees and boards and generate more participation or remove a barrier. That's the short. And you can, I mean, obviously people feel different ways on it.
At the town meeting, but I think that all that is discussed for permit process, which is huge in our town, that should be given a lot of thought on, going from 5 years to 3.
Yep. I agree.
And I know you've got a long night ahead, so obviously you have a lot to discuss on this article, and I'll be interested to come in person, as I always do, to consider it for a vote. And thank you all for your time.
All right, thank you. Thank you for calling. Mr. Marshall, do we have anybody else?
No other callers, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. This time I'd look for a motion from the committee. What is the pleasure of the committee at this time? Silence.
My motion, Mr. Chairman, is to table to a time certain. I know the Board of Selectmen are meeting tomorrow night, and I would like to hear also their input on this article. So therefore, my motion is to table to a time certain, which would be the first day of town meeting and discuss it at our 6:30 meeting.
Okay.
I'll second that. I would like to have the questions I asked answered. I would like to get a reconfirmation from town council that this is not a charter change. And I'd like to understand whether it's a simple majority or 2/3 vote.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote. Rich, how do you vote?
I'll vote aye. I have but Paige, could you just send me or send the board the information that you researched so we can have a look at it?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Susan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
I'm going to go aye, but I will preface it by saying once I get Dave's questions answered, that'll be a great help.
Okay. Dave?
Aye.
And I will vote aye as well. So we will table it till our pre-annual town meeting for discussion and getting some answers, questions. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I know I made you late for your meeting. Sorry about that. And thank you, Paige, as well, and everybody involved.
Thank you.
Okay. The next article is 34. I'll check that. That's the bylaw one. Yes, 34. Actually, we're not really going to be able to display much of this one. Pretty long. Mrs. Sedgwick, would you like to present Article 34?
Sure. Thank you for taking this out of order. And this article is actually a very lengthy article. I think it's 108 pages. I don't plan on reviewing all of that this evening. Real quickly, though, going over just some numbers for the Finance Committee. Again, Steve Sadwick, Assistant Town Manager. The current bylaw that we're operating off of was passed in 2002, and work started on it almost 20 years ago. And there were about 130 amendments to that 2002 recodification that occurred up until 2015. The Board of Selectmen appointed a zoning bylaw committee and appointed 5 members back in 2016. That committee met 44 times in public setting over a 5-year period. There were 9 public presentations since that time when they first started. There are 9 informational videos that are on YouTube that could be accessed off of the town's website. 10 drafts of the new bylaw were posted on the town's website. And then in the supplemental information that was put together and put out this weekend on the articles for town meeting, there's actually a list of 22 significant features of the new bylaw. I would like to point out that also in that supplemental information, there is a redirection or an explanation of things that are on the zoning bylaw committee's webpage. And those references include the final zoning draft, comments and responses from public presentations, a side-by-side comparison of the existing bylaw to the proposed bylaw, which is upwards of about 300 pages, but you can actually see what exists today and what's being proposed to be changed. There's a summary of all proposed zoning changes, and then there's a link to those videos, and all of the committee's minutes are all based off of their webpage. So I could spend a little bit, I will take a little bit of time just to run through some brief highlights in this. The definitions, 109 of the definitions remain the same to the existing bylaw. There were 25 definitions that were dropped, but then there happened to be 24 new additions that were added to the zoning bylaw. And one of the things that we did within the definition section was group like terms. So there's 13 different groupings. All wireless definitions are grouped together. Adult entertainment, signs are grouped together. Things relative to lots are grouped together. The new bylaw introduces site plan review, which is a little bit different than what we have currently in Tewksbury. But it is a tool that's used nationwide and in the Commonwealth when it comes to reviewing plans for proposed developments. The draft zoning bylaw includes a request for reasonable accommodations, which is to allow for those accommodations that are both in the Fair Housing Act and in the American with Disabilities Act. There were changes to zoning districts in the naming of the zoning districts. There was a reduction of 7 overlay districts. The proposed bylaw now has 4 overlay districts, which significantly reduces confusion both for applicants and for abutters. Under community design, dimensional and density requirements, everything is found in one section of the bylaw and not scattered like it currently is today. Appendix B is pulled into the body of this section 5.3 again to make it all within one section to find out what is relative to certain zoning districts. The floodplain district was amended according to recommendations from FEMA, and this was to bring us in compliance. And it wasn't just the town of Tewksbury, but they put out guidance late last year for all communities to update. So we kind of picked that up with this zoning update. The one thing I want to point out though is that the floodplain map itself does not change. The groundwater protection district remained the same with the exception of guidance that we received from the EPA relative to the Sutton Brook disposal area. They had requested that that be included, and I think the Finance Committee is aware that we're under a consent decree for the Superfund cleanup, and this is one of the last pieces that the EPA has requested of us. The marijuana dispensary overlay district remained the same with 2 exceptions, one being that the committee felt that the requirement of a single-use facility was not required, and we've seen multiple communities over the course of the last 4 years that have had medical marijuana dispensaries in locations that have other uses there. They also removed the square footage limitation because there was a belief that it was not necessary and shouldn't be a guiding principle. I think everyone's aware that we do not have any medical marijuana dispensaries in town. And we have a very tight overlay district that is very narrow for that. For site development standards, currently in the zoning bylaw, those are found in 3 different locations, and you really have to be an expert to understand where they are and how to find them and how to apply them. So in the new zoning bylaw, it's being proposed that everything be put into one section. So it's easy again for both the applicants, abutters, and staff to find how you handle parking requirements, how you handle loading areas, landscaping, buffers, and the appendix C in the current bylaw, which is the table of parking requirements, is pulled into the text of this. So everything is in one section. Signs were updated according to Supreme Court cases that have come out since the 2002 recodification. And there was a number of additional sign types that were added. There's also an incentive for monument signs versus freestanding signs. at certain properties. Off-premises signs, that's the billboard section of the bylaw that was put in, I think, a year or two ago. The committee felt that the 1,000 feet to residential use or district was a little bit onerous, and so their recommendation, which is in the proposed zoning bylaw, is that the distance be reduced to 500 feet and that 500 feet be from a residential use. There's a town center district development standards that's in this new bylaw that we currently do not have, and it resides outside of our existing bylaw. The large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic facilities, which is basically a solar farm, changed from a 20-acre minimum requirement to a 5-acre minimum requirement. And that was based on information that we had received that 5 acres is equal to about 1 megawatt of production of solar power. And then I think going down to affordable housing requirements, there is no fee in lieu of affordable housing requirements for multifamily developments. In this new bylaw, multifamily developments will be required to provide affordable units on site. So this is a pretty significant change from how we've operated since we've had fee in lieu of with all of these overlay districts. But the intention in the new bylaw is that affordable units will be on site in these new developments. The wireless communications facility section, we're advised by our consultants that locational requirements did not follow Telecommunications Act of 1996. So those were removed, but we kept in place all of our special permit requirements. So the town is still going to retain control over any types of wireless facilities. And then there was an addition in the new bylaw that we do not have in the current bylaw, and that is in regards to an FCC ruling that came out in 2019 for small wireless facilities. The Board of Selectmen passed regulations for small wireless facilities in the right-of-way, which is where the selectmen have control. They did that back in 2016, right after the ruling came out, and now in this zoning bylaw, we're trying to capture it for any small wireless facilities outside of the right-of-way. The committee also included recreational marijuana establishment requirements, because as you may remember, the ban for recreational marijuana cultivation, research, and production or manufacturing expired, and so now it's allowed in town. So we do not have any requirements in our existing bylaw to address recreational marijuana establishments. The new bylaw accomplishes that. And then lastly, the items that were deleted from the existing bylaw include office research district, accessory uses, community development district. There's only one of those in town, and that's at Emerald Court. But the way the new bylaw is structured, you can still build that type of community using other types of districts. The Highway Corridor Overlay District, which was passed in 2004, was for a mall off of I-93. And I think I don't need to tell people that the retail market has significantly changed and malls are not being built today. So the committee has recommended removing that from the bylaw. Community Village Overlay District had a lot of activity as far as multifamily developments were concerned. That is being removed from the bylaw, and those places that are currently zoned Community Village Overlay District will be either a mixed-use business district or a multifamily district. And then there was the removal of a use special permit section in the zoning bylaw, because the triggers for that are now covered under the site plan review process that's being introduced into the new zoning bylaw. So that's very quick overview of a lot of information. Like I said, we've spent a number of years. The committee was a very good committee in that we had the zoning enforcement officer planning board member, board of selectmen, land use consultant, and then a resident that happens to be a planner in another community sit on that. Our consultants were top-notch consultants. We had a contract of $59,000 with them and a contract with a design specialist and architect who helped us on the town center component, which was another $45,000. So this is pretty much the same bylaw that was brought forward and pulled back at the last town meeting because of COVID-19. The thought was that out of an abundance of caution, the committee decided to withdraw the article. What's before this town meeting only has those changes that were relative to the groundwater protection district and the floodplain district. And I am done.
Excellent. Thank you for that summary. Thanks to the committee that put in years of work to get this updated. Marshall, do we have any callers?
Mr. Chairman, I do have one caller on the line.
Excellent. Could you put them through, please?
Caller, go ahead.
Hello?
Caller, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Chairman. Hello?
Hello? Yep, we can hear you.
Hello. Hi. My name is Jay Kelly. I live at 22 Karen Lee Lane.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
Yeah. Hi. My comments on Article 34, and it applies to Article 35 also. Mr. Sadwick gave a very good overview, I think, about the magnitude of the articles and where they are in the warrant, at the end of the warrant, and also hopefully at the end of the pandemic. Both are going to contribute to, I think, a small turnout at the town meeting. These articles are so important, they should be the focus of a special town meeting later in the year. They should not be acted on with a low turnout and not be in the focus. I recommend that both of these articles be withdrawn again and be acted on. We can expect we'll get a good size turnout to act on. These are not just a rewriting of the zoning bylaws. There are substantive changes in them. The rewrite is excellent, an excellent thing to do. But the changes in the bylaws should be focused, and they're not. They're going to get lost when we go to the town meeting. And that should not happen. It will happen. Things will be changed. We won't know what they are. And we'll find out in the next few years what we've done, and it'll be too late to change them. So I'm asking the Finance Committee to recommend that the articles be withdrawn. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kelly. Correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, but these articles will be taken up on Wednesday. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
So it won't be at the end of like a long Monday. And there's not too many things on the special town is I can't imagine taking more than a half hour, and the annual will continue at, I forget the time, but 7:30 or 7.
That's correct, 7:30.
And these will be the only things at that time, right? Articles.
Correct. Unless we go late on Monday and there are articles that are pushed over, but that rarely ever happens.
Okay. So that helps a little, I think, of the concerns from Mr. Kelly. Was there any consideration to postpone this further till the fall?
There really wasn't. It's been postponed already a couple of times. We postponed it again, as Mr. Sadwick mentioned, because of abundance of caution this past June. So we just felt it was ready to be moved forward.
Okay. Mr. Marshall, are there any other callers?
No other calls, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Rich, do you have any questions on this?
Comment and a question. First of all, comment to Steve Sadwick and his committee. Thank you very much. That was certainly a lot of heavy lifting that you folks did over the years on this rewrite. So please pass along my thanks to your committee. My question is on Article 34, line 13 here, mandating 15% affordable housing in multifamily developments. Just asking that because in case people are listening online, we never had a percentage in place before, right?
It depended on certain districts. So some districts had 15% affordable requirements, but they did have the option for a fee in lieu of. So what happened was in a lot of, just about every development, with maybe the exception of 2, 3, people were paying the fee in lieu of instead of putting those affordable units in the developments.
This removes the fee in lieu of.
Correct. Or multifamily.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Susan, any questions?
No, thank you.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The previous question on the previous article that we discussed, is this a majority vote or a 2/3 vote?
This is a 2/3 vote. I will tell you that there was a recent piece of legislation that was passed and signed by the governor for housing zoning articles that could be a simple majority. But in reviewing this and having conversations with town council and looking over guidance that the state has put out, we believe that the entire package here will be a 2/3 vote.
Thank you, Mr. Sadwick. One other question that I have, and it should probably go through the chair to the town manager. And that is, if this article passes, whenever we take it up at town meeting, is there money in the budget to codify this change in the bylaw so that we have printed copies made up in a bound book or bound? Is there money in the budget for this? Or is there money in a revolving account to cover any printing costs for this?
So we would look first to the article that we had at previous town meetings for the zoning bylaw committee. If not, we would look to either the community development budget or the town manager's budget to help do that. At least get some copies printed, but that's something we'll just have to work out within the budgets that we have, Tom.
Thank you for that answer. Mr. Chairman, I'm through.
All right, thank you. Jason?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Asingorian?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
I don't have any either. Again, thank you, Steve, for the detailed info and all the hard work by the committee. Good work.
Thank you.
So at this time, I look for recommendation, a motion. Oh, actually, let me check with the callers first. Mr. Marshall, do we have any callers?
There's no other calls, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the board here, or the committee?
I'll motion to adopt Article 34, Mr. Chairman.
Dave, motion to recommend adoption. Sorry, I didn't hear. Say something.
I'll second, Tom.
Tom with the second. Thank you. Okay. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tom, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jason, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. It's a 6-0 unanimous vote. Article 35 that goes along with this article. Do you have any brief summary here, Steve?
This will be much briefer. Again, going off of the supplemental information that was provided this weekend, the Zoning Bylaw Committee's webpage has the following references available, which is a copy of the final update to the proposed zoning map. And I recommend that if people are interested in really being able to zoom into certain areas, it is a PDF that's online. It may be a lot easier to look at than what's printed in the warrant. There is also a parcel reference list for the proposed zoning map. And then again, there's a link to the videos and all of the committee's minutes. There are 2 videos specifically that are related to the zoning map. One of them is a 15-minute video that kind of walks through the entire town of all of the areas and the zoning changes that occur. And then quickly, the goals and outcomes of the committee relative to the zoning map include, but are not limited to, aligning the proposed zoning map with the districts that are in the proposed zoning bylaw, reducing the overlay districts from 12 to 4, aligning Main Street districts with the 2016 master plan, eliminating Main Street's commercial district parameters, which currently is defined as 291 feet deep off of the center line of Main Street. That created a number of split zone parcels. So by changing that, there's an elimination of split zone parcels. The committee decided that the municipal district should be replaced with districts that are compatible with surrounding neighborhoods. There's a rezone of the Great Swamp from industrial to park district due to environmental concerns there. There's a addition of a buffer and plume area for Sutton Brook disposal area to the groundwater protection district as requested by the EPA, which I had previously mentioned. And then I had previously mentioned rezoning the community development district to multifamily, rezoning the community village overlay districts to multifamily or mixed use, and then aligning mixed zone areas for a unified single zone area in a few areas of town. So that's pretty much the, Dave, it may be helpful if I were to share my screen. I may be able to show the map a little bit better.
Okay.
So that is the existing map. And then the proposed map is here. Like I said, this just is easier for people to read, but there were certain pockets that had a number of different zoned areas. Like one parcel would be a heavy industrial, the next one would be single family, and then it would be a multifamily. So the committee looked at areas like that and tried to come up with more of a unified zoning for that particular neighborhood. You can see the big green up in the center of this, which is the Great Swamp area. As I said, most of that becomes park. The town owns a significant amount of that, which is wetlands. National Grid is the red bump out. That's where their power station is located. And Most everything else is as I described it. So I just thought this would be easier for people to look at. Again, I recommend people go to the zoning bylaw committee's page on the website, and you'd really be able to zoom in and take a look at your individual neighborhoods or parcels. So that's all I wanted to show.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Marshall, do we have any callers on this article?
No callers on this article, Mr. Chairman.
Rich, do you have any questions on Article 35?
No, but just a comment. Could we get a link right on the homepage of the town page to where that is, just so people don't have to dive in and just could, here's where I want to go, here's where I want to look. It's right here on the front page.
Yep.
Thank you.
A good suggestion. Thanks, Rich. Bishop, do you have any questions?
No.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a curiosity question. Seeing that this annual town meeting is full with zoning bylaw changes and to the planning board. Through you, Mr. Chair, can I ask Steve Sadwick my curious question? With all of this information, Steve, has the planning board or the community planning office come up with an appeal process to any aggrieved citizen with regard to the way a planning board rules or to the zoning bylaw interpretation? Does the planning office, community planning office, have any kind of an outline for an appeal process that they can hand out to any citizen that is aggrieved?
We have nothing that was approved outside of state statutes, which we can do. I mean, there is a process for appealing articles, I believe. It's a very tight definition as to proving how you are aggrieved and everything else. Decisions of the planning board, whenever there's a decision that is issued by the planning board, notices are sent out to abutters, letting them know of their 20-day appeal period, which is all codified in the statute.
But nothing that we print.
No, yeah, we don't, like I said, for those notices, Tom, that we actually mail out the notice saying that this has been approved. It is on file at the town clerk's office. You have 20 days to file an appeal to protect your rights. And that's basically what people would receive in the mail.
Did the planning bylaw committee ever discuss it in any of the meetings over the last, we'll call it 20 years?
No, not really, because again, it was all about following statute.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Yeah, I can pull that information out though and have it available.
To the citizens of aggrieved parties.
Yep.
Whether they were in a butter or not.
For special permits by the planning board, you have to be a party of interest. It couldn't be if the planning board issued a special permit for a development on Shawsheen Street, somebody from North Street can't appeal that. It just isn't allowed under state law.
Okay, is that written anywhere in the offices of the community planning department?
It's state law. We can, yes.
Okay,
I can pull
thank
that
you.
out. Yep.
I just want to make sure they have all the information with regard to any aggrieved party.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Christian? Jason, you have any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Asomorian?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'm good as well. Mr. Marshall, any callers?
No callers.
Okay, I would Look for a motion from the committee.
I'll move to adopt article.
Tom,
Second,
motion. Who is the second?
Tom, Dave's the motion
Dave
maker.
the first, Tom's the second, okay. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Yes.
Susan,
Aye.
Tom with a preemptive aye.
Aye.
Jason. Dave,
Aye.
Asomorion,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. That's unanimous. Okay, are we done?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
All right, so we will now go back to the very beginning. Article 1. That is the election article, the annual election article. Anybody with questions? Do we have any motions?
I'll move to adopt.
Dave with a motion.
I'll second.
Rich second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. It's unanimous. Okay, Article 2.
Jason, Rob, we have to check callers each article, or?
Yeah, good call. Mr. Marshall, is there anybody on the phone for Article 1?
No calls for Article 1, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Keep me honest, Rich.
You know, Rob, maybe if we go through and we just have Jason jump in if there's ever a call, we can go back to it.
Yeah, I mean, if there is one, I definitely will do that, but I'll try to ping him just so I don't forget. Anyway, Article 2, Mr. Montori.
Article 2, Mr. Chairman, is the standard article each year that fixes the salary for elected officials.
Okay. Mr. Marshall, are there any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions from the committee? Do we have any motions?
Motion to adopt.
Dave? Motion?
Second.
Susan with a second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye. I vote aye.
Susan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tom, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jason, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dave, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote aye as well, 6-0. Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, sorry to interrupt. We actually do have a caller.
Okay, great. Could you put them on, please?
Yep. Caller, you're on the line.
Thank you. Jay Kelly again. So on Article 3, on specifically Article 3-33, expenditures for fiscal 22 is a total of about 1.2 million. Can you tell me how much was authorized for fiscal 2021? Also, how much was actually collected to date and how much was expended to date?
Was there a specific one on Article 333 or all of them total?
The total will be fine.
Do you have those numbers, Richard, or you?
Yeah, I'm just looking for them right now.
Yeah, okay.
Give me 1 minute. I don't believe that the numbers have changed since 21. They normally stay the same. I just need to find the Excel spreadsheet I sent the Finance Committee over the weekend.
Roll down.
I apologize for the delay.
Okay.
So for the total that was spent, that has been spent year to date, is that what we're looking for?
And
Yes.
sorry.
How much have they collected also?
So the revenue year to date for all of the funds is $264,513. And spent to date has been $75,477.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Sorry for the delay, Mr. Chairman.
No problem. You don't have those memorized, Richard?
I thought I printed the sheet out. I was wrong. I printed out everything else but that.
I was trying to find it myself, but my computer kind of wasn't cooperating. So I'm going to go back to, I think we're on 330. Yeah. Annual reports.
The annual reports have been uploaded to the website, and we received our bound copies this past week.
Marshall, do we have any callers?
We have no calls, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions from the committee? Motions from the committee?
I have a question. On the, where did the Shawshing Tech, does the Shawshing Tech salary data show up in there for employees that are employed by Shawshing Tech from Tewksbury?
I'd have to go back and look at that.
I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I'm not sure it does. If that's something you'd like me to see if I can get, I can try to get that.
Because, you know, the salaries are posted everywhere, but I couldn't see. I went to Shawshing Tech and looked if they published anything.
So are you looking for all the salaries of all the employees?
Well, just since we contribute to it, I'd like to know what. Yes, I guess so.
Okay, I can ask that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion for recommendation for Article 3-30.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Rich? Motion.
I'll second. Mr. Chairman, though, can we take Article 3 in its entirety? 3.30, 31, 32, 33?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. So we'll have to adjust the motion.
I'll amend my motion to that.
And I'll second.
Okay. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tom, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Dave votes aye as well. Unanimous. Okay, Mr. Marshall, any callers?
I do have a caller for Article 4, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Richard, do you want me to take the caller first and then see where we go from there?
Sure, you can try that.
Okay.
Rob, could you scroll down to 4, please?
Not gonna, 4 is pretty big.
Oh, figures.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
It's the budget, so. All right, Mr. Marshall, if you could put them on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question on the summary line for Article 4.
Sorry, is this Mr. Kelly again?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
On the summary line, which says ATM General Fund Budget, and it summarizes each line in Article 4. And the question is, do you have that information for not only Article 4, but for Article 4 plus some of all 21 other articles that are identified as budget related articles?
Team of people in this whole city working
Did you understand the question, Richard?
I did. So if you give me 1 minute. So just for note, there is a handout for town meeting that's been uploaded to the website. It'll be available at town meeting. It does have some detailed information on Article 4, the increases or decreases to each of the budgets. There's a summary chart that outlines that the total appropriations for the budget, enterprise fund, and special articles, that if you just give me 1 second, I can total. That between all the appropriations and the enterprise funds, the general fund appropriations and transfers at town meeting, we're looking at about approximately $142 million. That answer your question, Mr. Kelly?
Almost completely. So for fiscal 20 expenditure and for the fiscal 21 budget, approximate numbers.
For fiscal 21 also?
Yes.
In fiscal fiscal 21 budget, we were 120.7 million. For fiscal 22 appropriation for general fund, 122.9. For enterprise funds, all totaled enterprise funds were $15.5 million. For FY22, we're $15.9 million. For special articles and transfers at town meeting, FY21, we were $3.7 million. For FY22, we're $4.5 million.
The town manager was looking for the totals, but did you say that they're on your website?
There is a handout on the website. I can give you an approximate total. So the approximate total for FY21 for all of those items was 138 million in FY21, and in FY22, approximately 142 million.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling. Marshall, do we have anybody else?
No other calls, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Would you like to summarize Article 4?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. So Article 4 is the general fund budget, appropriations for all town and school departments. The increase in the general fund budget is $2.2 million. Town budget is increasing a little over $1.5 million. Salaries will be decreasing $89,000. Operating budgets will increase $520,000. Our unclassifieds, which are our fixed costs, will be increasing $1.3 million. The major increase there is money set aside for future borrowing for a possible renovation to the DPW school maintenance facility. Capital outlay budgets decreased $192,000. Our enterprise allocations, which help offset our budgets, increased $56,000. On the school side, the school overall budget increased $1.3 million. Salaries for schools increased $1 million. School operating increased $278,000. There was no change in capital outlay, and fixed costs for the school budgets increased $50,000. In addition to the town and school budget, Shawshene Tech's assessment decreased $81,560. Essex Aggie assessment is projected to increase $13,749. In town and school exempt debt decreased $556,640.
Okay. Marshall, do we have any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Rich, do you have any questions?
No.
All right, Susan?
No.
Tom?
None at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Jason?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Dave?
No, Mr. Chairman, we've reviewed this thoroughly.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, given that we were all going to say no questions, we've reviewed these for weeks on end here, the last couple months. So, check one more check with Mr. Marshall. Any callers?
Still no calls, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. If anybody does and has a question, I'll be happy to go on. Do we have a motion for recommendation here?
So moved.
Second.
Rich, motion to recommend adoption. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well, unanimous. On to 5. Let me get this here.
Article 5, Mr. Chairman, is a raise and appropriate article of $106,571 for the collective first year appropriation for the collective bargaining agreement for the Police Patrolmen's Union. This is something that we bring forward every 3 years after we finalize an agreement with any of the unions. Police Patrolmen's Union agreement has been settled for a 3-year contract. The highlights of the contract include a 2.25% salary increase for each of the 3 years of the contract. It also includes a 0.25% increase for each of the 3 years for employees who reach 15, 20, and 25 years of service. And then we added the day after Thanksgiving as a holiday for the union. The projected second year cost of the contract is $85,300. The projected third year is $87,278 for a total 3-year cost of the contract of $279,149.
Okay. Mr. Marshall, do we have any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have any questions from the committee?
I have a question. I probably asked this before too. Is 3 years the typical?
That's the standard. That's the most you can do.
Okay.
Usually what we strive for.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve then.
Rich with a motion to adopt.
Second.
Dave with a second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Article 6.
Article 6, Mr. Chairman, is another collective bargaining agreement. This one is for the Police Department Superior Officers Union. We're seeking an appropriation of $67,751 for the first year of the contract. It's a similar contract to the one I just mentioned for the patrolmen. It includes a 2.25% salary increase in each of the 3 years of the contract. It also includes a longevity increase of 0.25% in each of the 3 years for employees who reach 15, 20, and 25 years of service. Day after Thanksgiving was added as a holiday. Projected second year cost is $43,360. Projected third year cost is $44,417 for a 3-year projected cost of $155,528.
Okay. Mr. Marshall, do we have any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? Motions on recommendation.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Rich, second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
As a finance committee member, I abstain.
Jason,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
chair votes aye, so that is 5-0-1 abstain. Okay. Article 7.
Article 7, Mr. Chairman, is again another collective bargaining agreement. This time it's for the firefighters union. We are seeking an appropriation of $159,269 for the first year appropriation of the contract. This is a 3-year contract for the fire union, which encompasses all the members of the fire department, with the exception of the chief and a executive secretary and the deputy chief. The 3-year contract is similar to the contracts I just mentioned. It entails a 2.25% salary increase in each of the 3 years of the contract. It includes 0.25% in each of the 3 years for employees who reach 15, 20, and 25 years of service. The day after Thanksgiving was added as a holiday. The projected second-year cost is $103,692. The projected third-year cost is $106,107 for a projected 3-year total cost of $369,068.
Mr. Marshall, are there any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion to
Second.
Motion by Jason, Dave, and Rich. How do you vote?
Aye.
Susan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tom, how do you vote?
Aye.
Where am I? Jason, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dave, how do you vote?
Aye.
And chair votes aye as well. 6-0. Article 8.
Mr. Chairman, this article also is a collective bargaining agreement article for the AFSCME union. We have not reached an agreement at this time. We are still working on finalizing agreements, so I'd ask the committee to hold off on action on this article. Hopefully I have something prior to town meeting.
Okay. Marshall, are there any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
So
I'll move to table Mr. Chairman, Article 8 to a time certain. First evening of our town meeting, 6:30 meeting.
okay.
I'll second.
Dave with a second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. So unanimous to table to our pre-annual town meeting. Article 9.
Article 9, Mr. Chairman, is a raise and appropriate article for the Sewer Enterprise Fund in the amount of $6,797,181. This article funds sewer enterprise operations. The overall budget increased to $173,249, and there is no rate increase for FY22.
Marshall, do we have any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Jason with a motion to
Second.
Second. All right, Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
No.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. So the 5-1 recommendation to adopt. Article 10.
Article 10, Mr. Chairman, is seeking to raise and appropriate $7,466,378 to operate the Water Enterprise Fund. The Water Enterprise Fund consists of water distribution and water treatment plant operations. The overall budget for both departments increased to $119,567. There will be no rate increase for water rates in FY22.
Mr. Marshall, anybody on the phone?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any questions from the committee? Are any motions for recommendation here?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Second from Jason. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
No.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, so that is a 5-1 adoption. Article 11.
Article 11, Mr. Chairman, is another enterprise article. This is to raise and appropriate $1,177,410 to operate the Stormwater Enterprise Fund. The article funds stormwater permit compliance, maintenance and repairs. It also funds capital improvements to the town's stormwater and drainage system. There are no salaries or allocations within this budget, and the stormwater fee remains the same as it is in FY21, which is a $75 per residential equivalent unit for the community.
Mr. Marshall, do we have any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? Any motions for recommendation?
Motion to adopt Article 11.
Motion.
Second.
Jason with a second. All right, Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That is a unanimous 6-0 vote. Article 12.
Article 12, Mr. Chairman, is the last enterprise fund article. It seeks to raise and appropriate $543,398 for the Cable Television Enterprise Fund. This article is funded through Comcast and Verizon franchise fees. The increase, there actually is a decrease in this budget of $29,783 for its operating budget, but there is a capital expense this year of $174,200 within the budget article.
Okay. Can you remind me what that was, that capital expense? I forget.
The capital improvement of $174,000 was for a closed captioning system to comply with FCC and ADA regulations.
Okay, all right, thank you. Mr. Marshall, any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Questions from the committee? Or motions for recommendation?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
All right, Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Unanimous 6-0. Article 13.
Article 13, Mr. Chairman, seeks to transfer $1,387,668 from the Stabilization Fund for certain capital equipment and improvements. For DPW, we're seeking to transfer $690,000 to fund a new 6 to 8 yard sander that will slide into one of the vehicles, a new loader, which we're splitting the cost 50% with the general fund and 50% with water. The purchase of a new 6-wheel dump with plow package, and to replace an F550 with with a plow package. Seeking to fund $440,000 worth of new vehicles for the fire department. The first is $190,000 for a new rescue truck. The second is a new ambulance and equipment for $250,000. And the final capital improvement will be various capital improvements to the police department, $257,668 for upgrades to the training room, the fitness area in the police station, as well as an upgrade to its video cameras within the station. The Stabilization Fund currently has a balance of $8,576,664. If this article is approved, the balance will be $7,188,996.
Mr. Marshall, do we have any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Questions from the committee? Or recommendations, motions?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tom?
No.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well, so that's a 5-1. Article 14.
Article 14 is a transfer from sewer retained earnings in the amount of $72,500 to pay for 50% of the cost of a new backhoe for the to be shared between the sewer enterprise fund operations and the water enterprise operations. The current retained earnings for sewer is $6,269,819. We'll be utilizing $900,000 to help fund the sewer enterprise budget that was previously voted. If this $72,500 is approved, there'll be a balance of $5,297,319.
Mr. Marshall, any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Any motions for recommendation or questions?
Motion to accept.
Motion.
Second.
Dave with a second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
No.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well, so that's 5-1. Recommend adoption. Article 15.
Article 15 is another transfer article. This time it's $1,957,500 for water enterprise retained earnings for a variety of vehicles and capital improvements. As mentioned earlier, there is a loader that is being purchased, 50% from the general fund and 50% from water enterprise fund. That is $100,000. The backhoe that was previously mentioned in Article 14 is being split between the sewer enterprise fund and the water enterprise fund, $72,500 each. We are funding the continuation of the hydrant replacement program that has been ongoing since 2006 at $125,000. We're seeking to fund $1.6 million of water distribution upgrades and design. And we're seeking $60,000 to clean and inspect all 4 tanks in the community at $60,000. Currently, the water retained earnings has a balance of $2,204,981. If this article is passed, there'll be a remaining balance of $247,481.
Okay. Marshall, are there any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I would just ask Richard, number, was it 200,000 roughly, would be left in the retained earnings?
Yes, approximately 247,000.
Do you feel that's a little light or? Okay?
I think at the end of this fiscal year, when we close our FY21 books, there will be further retained earnings added to that based on the revenue we're bringing in.
Are there any other questions on Article 15?
Yeah, I just have a question in case anybody happens to be listening. They might have the same question. Hydrant replacement, what percentage have been replaced and what's left? Do we know? Top of your head, Mr. Montori?
So approximately since 2010, over 350 hydrants have been replaced out of since 2010. In 2006, we estimated that 600 of the approximate 1,600 have been replaced. So out of 1,600 hydrants, we replaced 350 so far. We believe 600 of them need to be replaced. So about 50% there on the ones we want to replace.
Thank you.
Other questions? And I can't recall. Marshall, are there any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so if there's no questions, do we have a motion article?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Second by Rich. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tom, how do you vote?
No.
Jason, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dave, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, so that is 5-1. Recommend adoption. For 16.
Article 16, Mr. Chairman, is a borrowing article of $1.5 million for water distribution system improvements. This will be added to the $1.6 million previously transferred from retained earnings. The debt service for Article 16 has already been factored into the water rates, which will not be increasing in FY22. The locations for the water upgrades in FY22 include Arnold Road, Bay State Road, Bond Street, Downing Road, Dudley Road, Green Street, Lake Street, Lakeview Avenue, Lawrence Street, Mystic Avenue, Parker Avenue, St. Mary's Road, Warren Avenue, Whiteman Road, and Willow Street. In addition, engineering and design will begin for the replacement of the pipe on the Beach Street neighborhood water main. So the 1.5 and the 1.6 previously requested will address upgrades in these areas.
Mr. Marshall, do we have any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions from the committee? Motions on recommendation?
Motion to accept.
Motion to adopt from Susan.
Second.
Dave with a second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
No.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, so it's 5-1. Recommend adoption. 17.
Article 17, Mr. Chairman, is an article we've had on for the past few years. We had a bond premium, bond refinancing that reduced the bonds that were refinanced for exempt debt. We use a portion of that each year to reduce the town's exempt debt through a schedule that we have. And this year we're utilizing $49,636.76 to reduce town exempt debt.
Okay. Mr. Marshall, any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Questions from the committee? I'll remind everybody that might be watching that we have reviewed these before, so we've asked a lot of our questions already. Any motions for recommendation?
Motion to accept.
We'll go with Jason with the motion, Dave with the second. And Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. That's unanimous, 6-0. Recommend adoption. Article 18.
Article 18 is another article we have each year to transfer $25,000 from overlay surplus to fund a senior and veterans tax relief work program that we have in the community. This program allows seniors and veterans to work in town offices and receive a maximum of $1,500 to be applied to their property tax bill, depending on the number of applicants we have and the number of hours they work and amount that they finally are provided. On average, we have provided 30 to 32 individuals with work in the community.
Great. Mr. Marshall, any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Everybody can see that phone number, right, that I'm sharing?
It is still up there, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the committee or motions for recommendation?
Motion to adopt Article 18.
Second.
And a second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. 6-0 unanimous. Recommend adoption. Article 19.
Article 19 is a standard article each year that lays out the Affordable Housing Trust Fund allocation plan. And the article that is being presented lays out the plan for FY22.
Marshall, any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do you have any questions or any motions for recommendation?
Motion to adopt.
And to adopt.
Second.
Jason with a second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. It's unanimous. Recommend adoption. Article 20.
Article 20 lays out the Community Preservation Fund appropriations for FY22, allocating 10% of the fund for open space, 10% for community housing. The historic preservation is already set aside, which funds the payment of the bond for the town hall renovations. Sets aside 5% for administrative costs. We're projecting FY22 revenue to be $1,197,017 from CPA fund revenue. And this article, again, is standard every year.
Yep. Mr. Marshall, any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any questions from the committee and or motions on recommendation?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Rich with a motion.
Second.
Susan with a second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. So that's 6-0 unanimous. Recommend adoption. Article 21.
Article 21 seeks to amend a current revolving fund that we have for solid waste, recycling, and household hazardous waste to include revenue that we will receive from a payment in lieu of taxes for a solar farm that has been put on the closed Sutton Brook landfill. We're anticipating each year to receive approximately $42,000 for this payment in lieu of taxes. We'd like the money to go into the revolving fund so we can utilize it to help offset the costs of operation and maintenance of the landfill, which the town is partially responsible for in an assessment we receive each year.
Mr. Marshall, any callers?
No callers, Mr. Chairman.
Questions from the committee or motions and recommendation?
Motion to adopt?
For the motion,
Second.
second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
No.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave? Might have lost Dave. Dave, you still there?
Sorry about that. Aye.
Okay. Chair votes aye, so that's a 5-1 to recommend adoption. Article 22.
Article 22 also amends a current existing revolving fund, which is the energy efficiency revolving fund for town and school buildings, equipment, and infrastructure. We would like to utilize the revenue we receive from take the revenue we receive from the charging stations we currently have at the town hall annex, as well as the library, and any future ones we have at town and school buildings for that revenue to go into this fund.
Okay. Do we have any callers, Mr. Marshall?
No callers, Mr. Chairman.
Questions from the committee? Or motion, recommendation?
Motion to adopt?
Second.
Second by Rich. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
No.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. 5-1, recommend adoption. Article 23.
Article 23 actually seeks to authorize the creation of a new revolving fund for e-billboards. Since the town has approved or allowed e-billboards to be located in town, there is a revenue generated from being a host community. Currently, we have one e-billboard approved in town. The projected revenue is $50,000 per year, and we'd like the revenues to be added to this revolving fund to be used in the future for sidewalk maintenance, installation, and reconstruction. Since sidewalks has been one of the top priorities in the community, something the residents have been seeking funds for to undertake. We thought this was a way to help fund that program.
Mr. Marshall, any callers?
No callers, Mr. Chairman.
Callers, okay. Questions from the committee?
Yeah, Mr. Montori, I know I asked at one of our last meetings about future 5G or cell phone antennas on those. Were you able to find out if we could write anything to those contracts?
I need to follow back up with that. We did ask the question, but we didn't receive an answer, but I will follow back up with that, Rich, and get you an answer.
Okay, thanks. 5G's here.
No, you're right.
I can see them that they're small. They just, billboard's a great place to put them.
Do we have any other questions or motions on recommendation?
I'll move to adopt.
I'll second.
Second.
Dave got in there just ahead of you, Susan, sorry. Let's see. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
No.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
The chair votes aye as well. That's a 5-1 adoption. Article 23. On to Article 24.
Article 24 is an article that authorizes the Board of Selectmen to grant or accept easements in conjunction with DPW projects. It's a general article that gives the selectmen the authority during fiscal year 22, which is July 1, 21 through June 30th, 22 only, that for any of the DPW projects that would run into issues where an easement is needed or needs to be accepted or granted, that the selectmen have the authority to do it. This way, we don't delay projects until the next town meeting. It keeps projects moving and gives flexibility to the selectmen and the DPW.
So is this something that you might put on here each year?
It'd be an ongoing article.
Okay. Mr. Marshall, do we have any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Questions from the committee or motions on recommendation?
Motion to
Motion to
adopt.
adopt.
All right, Susan, I'm going to give you this one, and Dave, you get the second. How's that?
There you go.
Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. 6-0 unanimous adoption of 24. 25.
Article 25 is an article brought forward by the Open Space and Recreation Committee. The article seeks the parcels that are listed to be transferred to the Conservation Commission and held under their care, custody, and control for the promotion and development of natural resources and protection of watershed resources, open space, and wildlife habitat. The articles are listed within the warrant article, and then the handout that has been provided to the committee, as well as uploaded to the website, has maps of the area that we're looking to protect. And this is not only this is something brought forward by the Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee, and is in conjunction with what was outlined in the town's Open Space and Recreation Plan.
Okay, great. Marshall, any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Questions from the committee or recommendations?
Motion to adopt.
Jason with a motion to adopt.
Second.
Second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. 6-0 unanimous. Recommend adoption. Article 25. Article 26.
Article 26 seeks authorization to sell a parcel of land, map 104, parcel 1, for affordable housing. The article, as presented in the handout, has a map of the location, and the authorization will allow up to 3 affordable units to be built on what is approximately 2.5 acres.
Okay. Mr. Marshall, do we have any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Questions from the committee? Recommendations, motions on the recommendation?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Rich with a motion.
Second.
Susan with a second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. 6-0 unanimous. Recommend adoption. Article 26. Article 27.
Article 27 seeks approval to increase the exemption amount granted to eligible seniors under the Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41C. The exemption is available to seniors over 65 that live in Massachusetts for 10 years, own and occupy their property for 5 years, and meet yearly asset and income criteria. The exemption we're seeking, the increase we're seeking is from $500 to $1,000 for those eligible seniors.
Great. Marshall, any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions from the committee or motions on recommendations?
Motion to accept.
Second.
For the second, Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. That's unanimous, 6-0. Recommend adoption of Article 27. Okay, so Article 28 we already took up. Beginning. And we voted to table it to our pre-annual meeting Monday. Article 29.
Article 29 is an article that needs approval for non-union personnel in the town. This article funds the first of 3 years cost increases for non-union employees covered by the personnel bylaw. The first year cost is $111,251. The projected second year cost is $107,515, and the projected third year cost is $109,934. The highlights of the article include a 2.25% increase in each of the 3 years. It also seeks an upgrade of certain positions that are listed within the article that has a total cost in addition to the 111 of $37,331, which has been built into town budgets that were brought forward in Article 4. So this article essentially addresses cost of living increases for all employees, all non-union employees, and addresses the upgrades that are presented. The upgrades were brought forward in an attempt to keep pace with what the market is for these particular positions. I will say that this is a start in what will probably be another review in the next year or two of all positions within the personnel bylaw to ensure that we're keeping pace with what the market is for these positions.
Okay, I think that makes sense. Marshall, any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Questions from the committee or motions on recommendation?
Motion to adopt.
Dave with a motion.
Second.
Susan with a second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye. Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Unanimous 6-0. Recommend adoption of Article 29. We already covered 34. The bylaw articles 34 and 35. The unanimous recommendation for adoption. So we're on to our special town warrant.
Okay, Article 1, a special town meeting.
Yep.
So this seeks to transfer funds within the FY21 budget from budgets that were deemed to be surplus to fund line items in the budget that were deemed to have a deficit. Just quickly going through these, town manager regular salaries has a projected surplus because longevity for staff within the department was not funded properly. accounting, regular salaries, seeks funding for the part-time finance director, salary for the remainder of the fiscal year. Town Hall Energy Utilities, which covers the Center Fire Station, Town Hall Annex, and Town Hall, is projected to have a deficit. Both police salaries overtime and fire salary overtime is seeking funding based on the need to cover shifts for the remainder of the fiscal year due to staff being out on injury, vacancies due to retirements, and in some cases, deployment of personnel to the military. Fire operating, repair and maintenance, seeking a transfer of $25,000 for vehicle maintenance to cover them for the remainder of the year. Street lights, we're seeking $208,517 to pay down a bond anticipation note that we have outstanding for the LED streetlight conversion project. That bond is currently $499,000, and we'd like to have that paid off over the next few months. Solid waste collection and disposal, seeking a transfer to those accounts since trash disposal and collection has increased over the past year due to the amount of recycling and the cost of recycling, trash collection, and the cost of the amount of trash that we need to dispose of. Essex Aggie, we're seeking additional funding due to the increased cost of the tuition for students going to Essex Aggie, and then Medicare tax for the town is seeking additional funding of $20,000 based on the increased payroll tax that we have this year. The funds are coming from school group insurance and town group insurance, $100,000 from each line item. There was a surplus in those funds since enrollment in group health insurance is less than we projected. Library salaries, COA salaries, and fleet salaries all will have projected surpluses due to vacancies that occurred during the fiscal year. And streetlight operating has a surplus due to credits we have received over the past year. Once we transitioned to LED lighting, National Grid owed us credits over the past year that were completed this past month that totaled that amount. And that is it for the budget.
Okay. Mr. Marshall, do we have any callers?
No callers, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any questions from the committee?
I just have a question. Would any of this be covered by either state or federal COVID or call-ups, with the call-ups with the military for certain things, that kind of stuff?
No, that's all something we would have to fund.
Okay. It's amazing how much we saved by switching over to streetlights.
All right, now the credits are complete. We'll see a savings next year, but we knew the credits in the beginning would be higher than what we'd see going forward.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
For the motion,
Second.
Susan with a second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. 6-0, unanimous. Recommend adoption of Article 1. Article 2.
Article 2, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman seeks to transfer of $479,674 from certified free cash that was set aside to fund snow and ice deficit. The $479,674 was of the deficit for FY21, and the free cash $600,000 was set aside once free cash was certified July 1.
Mr. Marshall, do we have any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Questions from the committee?
Motion to
on
adopt.
Oh, sorry.
Motion to adopt.
From Susan?
Yep.
We have a motion.
Second.
Jason with a second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That's 6-0 unanimous. And adoption. Article 2. Article 3.
Article 3 is another transfer from free cash in the amount of $120,326. We're seeking funding for actually 5 items. The first is Middlesex retirement assessment in the amount of $32,000. This will help fund the town's assessment for those individuals who have been deployed on military duty. The town is responsible for their share of the for retirement assessment. The cost is not $32,000 that we currently owe, but the $32,000 is set aside because we do get these bills randomly throughout the year. And after talking to the town accountant, she felt if we could put some money aside and pay the bills as they come in, we wouldn't have to wait for town meeting approval or have any unpaid bills based on when they come in. The other is the Molly Drive contamination cleanup. This is a town-owned parcel. That contamination was identified, and the town was required by Mass DEP to clean up. The cost to the remainder of the cleanup is $40,000. Once we fully clean up the contamination area, the town will have access to grant money to restore the whole natural resource area located in the Molly Drive location. We're also seeking $19,000 for Livingston Recreation building upgrades. The Facilities and Grounds Director has asked that funds be set aside to begin building upgrades. The $19,000 will be the start of those upgrades, specifically focusing on upgrade to the electric panel. And then finally, the 2 items left are in regard to streetlight bond anticipation notes. The first is the payment of our interest costs for fiscal 21 that is due at the end of May in the amount of $10,326. And then streetlight bond anticipation note interest, the last line. We're going to seek an amendment to strike the word interest because we'll be looking to utilize the $19,000 to help pay down the note that I mentioned earlier, which is $499,000. So this article will be amended just to strike that word. And those are the requests in Article 3.
Okay, Mr. Marshall, do we have any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Questions from committee? I actually have a quick question, Richard. This is between Article 2 and 3. Will we be using up the free cash, correct?
Correct.
600,000 that we set aside and didn't use all of it.
Correct.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, if the committee decides to vote on this article, I'd ask it to be voted as amended to delete that word interest.
I got you on that last row there. Is it the second to last one or the last one? I can't remember.
Correct.
The last one?
The last one.
Yes, the last one, the $19,000.
All right, thank you. So we will look for a motion to adopt as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Dave with a motion. Rich with a second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. So it's unanimous 6-0 to recommend adoption as amended. Article 4.
Article 4 seeks to transfer $4,824.78 from library salaries to pay for unpaid bills that came in after July 1. The first is $4,318.28 for Evoqua Water Technologies, which provided chemical supplies to the water treatment plant. And then City Hall Systems, which is our online billing system, a monthly payment of $506.50. Library salaries has a surplus due to vacancies that were not filled during a portion of the fiscal year.
Okay, Mr. Marshall, do we have any callers?
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
Questions from the committee?
Motion to accept.
Jason with a motion to accept.
Second.
Second. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
And chair votes aye as well. 6-0. Unanimous. Recommend adoption of Article 4. I think that's our last one. Is there anything?
That is everything, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Okay. One last check on the phone line, Mr. Marshall.
No calls, Mr. Chairman.
No callers. Okay, so our next meeting will be half hour before annual town meeting on Monday. I can't remember if that's 6:30 or 7, but it's I'll post something in short order tomorrow, hopefully. Unless anybody has anything else.
Rob, we'll be meeting right up front typically where we normally.
Yeah, we'll meet in the gym at our table.
Okay, thank you.
Like last year. Yep.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn from Rich.
Second.
Second by Dave. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. 6-0. Unanimous. We are adjourned. I will see you all Monday.
See you
Thank you
Monday.
Good
very much,
weekend,
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good week.
Everybody else.
Be safe. Bye-bye.